The night the power failed across our small neighborhood outside Asheville, North Carolina, the last person I expected to see standing on my front porch was my ex-girlfriend's younger sister. Rain soaked her jacket, her hands trembled from the cold, and her eyes carried the exhausted look of someone who had been trying to stay strong for far too long. When I quietly told her it was getting late and she should stay the night instead of driving through the storm, she looked at me with a fragile smile that seemed to hide years of pain and softly asked if it was only for tonight. In that single moment, I realized her question had very little to do with the weather and everything to do with whether someone still believed she deserved a place where she belonged. Before we continue, if you believe kindness still matters, if you believe people deserve forgiveness, compassion, hope, and second chances, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, leave your thoughts below, and subscribe to the channel so we can continue sharing stories that remind us how powerful simple acts of kindness can be. My name is Nathan, and after my relationship with Rebecca ended almost 3 years earlier, I had carefully rebuilt a quiet life. There had been no dramatic betrayal, only different dreams that slowly carried us in opposite directions. We wished each other well and eventually stopped calling. The hardest part had been losing the connection with her family, especially because they had once welcomed me as one of their own. Seeing Rebecca's younger sister, Grace, standing outside my house brought back memories I thought had long settled into the past. She explained that she had accepted a temporary nursing assignment nearby, but the apartment she had rented had suddenly become unavailable because of severe water damage. Every hotel within 30 miles had filled with travelers stranded by the storm. She had driven around for hours before remembering that I still lived in town. The guest room had remained untouched since my father passed away the previous winter. I had never found the strength to change it. As Grace settled in, I realized the empty house suddenly felt different. It no longer echoed with silence but with small signs of life, a kettle warming on the stove, quiet footsteps in the hallway, and someone asking if I needed help preparing breakfast. She stayed only because the roads flooded the next morning, then because the property manager needed several more days to repair the apartment, and then because unexpected delays kept appearing one after another. Each evening we shared simple dinners, talking less about the past and more about where life had taken us. Slowly I noticed that Grace carried burdens she never spoke about directly. She volunteered at shelters after exhausting hospital shifts, regularly skipped buying things for herself so she could help patients who struggled to afford medications, and constantly apologized whenever she accepted even the smallest kindness. It became obvious that somewhere along the way she had started believing she was supposed to carry everyone else's problems alone. Watching her reminded me of my own grief after losing my father. I had buried myself in work because staying busy was easier than admitting how lonely the house had become. We were two people pretending everything was fine while quietly falling apart in different ways. Without realizing it, we began helping each other heal. She encouraged me to reopen my father's neglected woodworking shop behind the house, and I built shelves for local schools and benches for neighborhood parks again. Seeing children and families using something my father had once taught me to create brought back a sense of purpose I thought I had lost forever. One Saturday we organized a community project to repair an aging playground damaged by winter storms. Neighbors arrived carrying tools, food, and laughter. Families who had never spoken before worked side by side. Looking around, I realized that healing rarely happened in dramatic moments. More often it arrived quietly, disguised as ordinary people choosing to care about one another. A few weeks later, Grace finally received the keys to her repaired apartment. I helped carry the last box inside. The place looked comfortable, but as we stood in the empty living room, neither of us seemed eager to say goodbye. She admitted that the question she had asked on my porch weeks earlier had never really left her heart. She hadn't been asking whether she could stay for one night. She had been wondering whether anyone would ever make her feel like she wasn't simply passing through someone else's life. Her words stayed with me for days. I realized I had spent years protecting myself from new relationships because I feared reopening old wounds. Yet the unexpected friendship that had grown between us wasn't built on the past. It was built on shared healing, mutual respect, and countless ordinary moments that slowly became extraordinary. If this story has touched your heart so far, please support the video with a like and share it with someone who believes hope can still change lives. Your support allows stories like this to reach people who may need a reminder that brighter days are possible. Before we reach the ending, I'd love to hear from you. Please leave a comment telling us about a time when one simple act of kindness changed your life or restored your faith in people. Your story may become the encouragement someone else desperately needs today. Months later, our lives looked very different. My woodworking shop became a community space where veterans, teenagers, retirees, and volunteers learned together every weekend. Grace continued caring for patients with the same quiet compassion that had first inspired me, but now she allowed others to care for her too. We never rushed to define what we were becoming. Some relationships grow strongest not because they begin with perfect timing but because they begin with genuine kindness. Looking back, I understood that the storm had done far more than block the roads. It had led two lonely people toward the family they didn't know they were still searching for. And every time I remembered that rainy evening, I smiled at how one small invitation to stay safe for a single night became the beginning of a future built on hope, trust, healing, and the beautiful truth that sometimes the greatest second chances arrive quietly, knocking on your door when you least expect them.